Hey YouTube, it's JP Dillon. Today we're going to look at an early 1970s Hitachi model IU-53 AC/DC portable. I picked this up at an estate sale, plugged it in while I was there, and it was absolutely dead and unresponsive. So the price was right. It was really cheap. I picked it up and we're going to see if we can kind of resurrect it. It's a little bit beat up. It's got some dings here and there. Cabinet doesn't look all that fantastic, but why not? And here's the back side. As you can see, Hitachi Sales Corp of America in Long Island. It was hooked up to cable at some point. But you've got your user controls here. Still has a vertical linearity. It's interesting. But yeah, let's get it open. Let's see what we can figure out. So it looks like we have two knobs to remove here. Screw on the side here. Screw down here. Screw up here. I didn't see another screw down on the bottom here. Did I miss it? We got the earphone jack there. Okay. Oh yeah, did I mention it has one of these weird 6-pin AC cords, which usually has a jumper inside to denote whether it's in AC or DC mode. Well, that doesn't want to come loose. There we go. And there's probably screws on the bottom too, at least that's what I'd assume. There's one here. That's pretty easy. Take a look inside here. 9AGP4 is the CRT. Fancy. Get some light in here. Well, the good news is that there's no scary purple Matsushita capacitors. Although those ones back there, I think those are made by Sanyo. Those blue things there, those are notorious for death too. They get leaky. Cute little flyback and a stick rectifier. Okay, so my primary concern really is the regulated supply, which is this thing here. This is probably your 12-volt regulator. And so we have AC come in. There's a big fat transformer there. There's probably an electrolytic. Yep, it's tucked way back there. And then you have the components for the Zener diode, which are probably mounted on something back here. So they don't really make this easy. And now this is going to be Dizovision TV. So it looks like these are holding the regulator board in here. So I had absolutely no activity whatsoever, but the fuse, I get continuity through the line cord, so the fuse is probably good. Can't really tell, but we'll ohm it out here real quick and see what's going on with it. But let's get it out first. Maybe we can learn something about it. Now, typically on a primitive 12-volt regulated supply like this, you've got 3 points of failure. One is the supply, which would be the transformer rectifier and the main filter cap. And then the second would be the actual regulation, which would be the driver transistor and Zener diode and little buffer cap and all that sort of mess. So let's pull this aside here if I can. There's a little zip tie up top, or a twist tie rather. And let's take a look back here. So there's not a whole lot to this. It looks like we've got I don't even see where the Zener diode would be. We've got a resistor, or two sets of resistors. These look like 150 ohm parallel, so 75 ohms, which come from the collector to the base. That would establish a current limit and a reference. And we got this rectifier assembly here, but I don't see anything that would suggest a reference of any kind. So that's kind of weird. And as far as the supply, yeah, I don't know. So let's check these two fuses here. I get continuity through the line cord, so I am measuring the transformer. But let's see if the fuses are good. First one here, that looks okay. Second one here, that looks okay. All right. So now the question is, let's just do a brief check on the transistor. And let's make sure the transistor's alive. Because if the transistor's not alive, it's not going to pass any voltage. So if we go base collector here, we have a junction. And if we go base emitter here, we don't. So base collector, yep. Base emitter, no. So the regulator transistor is defective. So we have to change that. And that should be fairly straightforward, really. That's just held in place. It's soldered to the board, and then you've got a nut here. Usually like a 7/32. We'll do these, or whatever the metric equivalent is. Yep, that just comes right loose there. Let's go ahead and take this out. Hopefully this will be an easy fix. And we can see what else it does, if anything. Go ahead and desolder that. Pretty close. Let's just remove the rest with wick. And we'll check to make sure that that 75 ohm resistor array there is alive, because if it opens base emitter, the resistor will try to usually front the, there it is, to a C1060. Resistor will front the blunt of the current. So let's see if the resistors are alive. So they got two 150s in parallel, so that should be about 75 ohm. Survey says it's about 80 ohms. It's still within 10%, so I'm just going to leave that be. And let's see here. Surprised that they don't have any kind of, I guess the collector is grounded. So Let me get a transistor. I use the good old MJE 15032. That's pretty beefy. Okay, so this is an on semiconductor MJE 15032 NPN. I like these. They're beefy. They're good to 8 amps or some ridiculous thing like that. So I'm going to trim off the collector lead since we won't need that, and then we'll bend this over here. We'll get some heat sink goo. I don't know why the old one wasn't heat sunk, but you see that a lot. We're just going to put a thin layer of it on the bottom here. And then we have to line everything up. They have keyholes here. But, you know, my luck, it's going to fight me. Of course. All right, there's one side. Oh, we got the capacitor over here preventing us from laying it down proper. There we go. Now it's a good idea when you put this all together that you tighten down the hardware before you attempt to solder, so that you don't end up breaking foil traces when you when you tighten the thing down after soldering it. Okay, and of course this wants to fight me. Yeah, it's not going to do very much as a transistor with an open base emitter junction. And make sure this is all happy. Appears to be. Let's tighten it down. And then lastly, we'll solder it up. Trim the leads off, and then we'll see if it starts. All right. You know, while I'm in here, save us a little tiny bit of time in case these pots are dirty. Just clean them right here and now. Get some CRC in there. I've known Hitachi pots to be somewhat touchy at their age. Of course, it doesn't help that I can't grip it with my fat fingers. Put a knob on, work it a bit. And we'll repeat the process with this guy. See your brightness and contrast. Okay, now we can bolt this back up, and then we'll plug it in. See if we can get any signs of life. And if you're curious, so if I go between base and collector on the new one here, we've got our junction, and base emitter on the new one here, and we got our junction. So this is happy. And the next thing I want to do is figure out if the thing's getting voltage. So let's plug it in. And let's pick a ground. And let's see here. That's weird. Minus 2.5 volts. Okay, let's flip the switch. Minus 6. Minus 5.2. Alright, so this is a regulator of some kind? Or 6 volts, maybe that's for the CRT. Oh, I got something on the screen here. Do I have volume? I do. Okay. Alright, let's of course I can't do much with this because the let's see which one's which. There we go, there's something there. Just the sides. Bottom one's brightness, top one's contrast. Let me just get some knobs on here so I can adjust it worth a damn. It's got a bright picture at least. That's good. So maybe that was actually the regulator for the CRT? The CRT filament? Never seen that. Usually that's like a 12 volt thing. Or maybe that ground that I took as a reference was not ground. But who knows? Okay. Dirty tuner. I'm just going to spray the tuner a little bit here on some of the wafers. Work it a bit. Okay. Now let's hook up an actual signal source of some kind. I need to dig up my old butterflies. Those are the things where you could just clip onto the back of the terminals and attach your signal easily there without having to hook up all these adapters and things. Okay. We'll start off with my crummy little signal generator, assuming I can find it. Let's hook this up here. Turn this on. Yeah, we're not going to see color bars. There's our crosshatch. Picture's a little off center and a little skewed. Let's see if we can fix that. So I'm going to go to the neck of the CRT here and loosen the clamp for the yoke. Come on now. Yeah, it's like it's glued on there. Don't want to budge. I don't want to risk killing it either. Holy crap, this thing's on here tight. We'll just leave that alone for a bit. but it's a sharp picture. It's got plenty of brightness. I like this tuning eye thing here. I didn't notice that. So if we tune off, yeah, it goes out. Cool. And then this is our UHF, but that's not meaningful since nothing is being broadcast in analog around here. I wonder if this easily comes off without breaking. I do need to clean it. Let's get a real signal hooked up to it. Like some live TV. That's why I always keep a converter box at my bench. Makes it easy. Alright, I'm going to disconnect the signal generator.
Going to end up in court unless I get a witness. Now, it could drag on for months and months.
The distortion you see is the signal generator. Once I turn it off, you can see it goes away.
A lot of time in court. I've got a bee farm to look after. You know I'm innocent, and you won't even give me an affidavit?
You're wasting your breath. I'm not going to get mixed up in any lawsuit. Now, that's your hard luck, my friend.
Well, if you won't back me up, I guess it is. Come on.
Looks pretty good.
Oh, let's not hurry. This gentleman may change his mind.
Not a chance.
Let's see if I can do a little tweak on the vertical. Remember that vertical adjustment in the back?
Well, when I was nursing on
Linearity looked good from the test pattern, so I think I'll just adjust the height.
Oh, a bee in the car? But you know, that would
It was pretty close. Just need a little tiny bit of overscan here.
Maybe instead of suing you, he'll be suing this gentleman.
Don't make me laugh. I'm not
Yeah,
responsible
let's
for
see.
what my bees
This
do.
is your hold,
Sure, I saw the
which
bee
is
go after
looking
him
good.
and served him right. Standing here sampling all my honey and not buying any.
Let's
But I
tune
can't
off
be
a little bit.
responsible for what my bees do.
There's no tearing, so the horizontal hold's adjusted right.
Of course they see dies in the middle of summer. Luckily we're members
And of course it's going to blank because, you know, bright picture.
That help cover the cost when parts of more than 20 home systems and appliances wear out. Like
The tilted picture bugs me. I mean, really bugs me.
It's no biggie though. My American Home Shield plan covers items no matter their age.
I'm going to see if I can get that loosened up a little bit without hurting it. Alright, so I finally got the yoke loose. I had to loosen the clamp and slip a little X-Acto knife underneath all the little plastic fingers. You can see now I can tilt it. So I'm going to tighten down the clamp while holding it in the right spot because it keeps wanting returning to that other spot.
Well, to make a long story short, Mr. Baxter stopped at my stand at the same time I heard the crash. So he couldn't possibly have forced you off the road.
Alright, let's see if we can go back to a letterbox format.
I thought...
Sun adjustable mattress sets and get a $300 instant gift. Plus, get 0%
Looks pretty
interest
leveled
for
up
60
now. I
months.
like it.
Only at Mattress Firm.
This was a nice, easy fix. Has a good picture.
My funeral and final expenses are now covered.
Pretty bright picture too. I don't think it was used very much.
No, it's important.
This is a new thing we got is rewind. Mostly 80s and 90s shows rather than 50s, 60s, and 70s. Switching the format there, can't hang on that too long. A little bit of top and bottom pin cushion, but I'm not worried about it.
PBS Kids Animal Health.
This morning, on the third hour of today, tragedy in Texas. The death toll rising overnight. At least.
We have a little bit of non-linearity at the top. Not too bad though. Let's see if adjusting And the Erody pot doesn't do any good. It's a little better. Now we got to bump up the height. All right, well, I think all in all, this one turned out pretty good.
I mean, you don't stop someplace pretty soon, I'm gonna need a medevac to take me somewhere for these burns. Right up ahead. Best galley ever.
Glad it was an easy fix. Also, when this thing's plugged into regular power, it has instant on. The filament stays lit. So when you turn it back on, it's right there. So if you have one of these Hitachi AC/DC portables, you might check that, because you don't want it to bake away on Insta-Bake, Instant On. I'm going to take some plastic polish and see if I can't make this a little bit nicer. I'm trying to figure out a way to get this out of here without breaking the little clips off, because it's probably very brittle. But anyways, right now, let me get the Novus. And so here's the Novus number 2. And all I do is fold up a blue shop towel into a square like that. We'll put the Novus on there, about a $50 size amount, and we're just going to buff it in. And of course, avoid the silk screening at the bottom left. Otherwise, you'll wipe it out. But you just work it until you see all the nasty scratches go away. And you can use this on the plastic trim too. So once you're satisfied rubbing it in, I'm going to wait a little bit for it to dry, and then we'll buff it off. And while I'm doing that, we'll tilt this down, and I'm going to do the top half of the trim piece here, all around the edges. But you can see it's already starting to clean it up. That way it can look a little bit nicer. We'll do that on the sides too. Why not? Now that you got everything how you want it, use the dry side and wipe off the excess, like buffing a car. And we can use this method for the oxidation on the metal knobs too. It does work a little bit if I can get this out. There we go. I got to remember not to lose the little clampy thingamachigas here. Alright, so I don't know if you can see that. That side's worse. A little bit of oxidation there. Sometimes you can do the same thing and just rub it out with the Novus. It's getting better. This is often easier with a Q-tip or something you have a little more control with. But you can see it's starting to clean up. I don't want to rub it too much because I might actually take the finish off, but that's pretty acceptable. I'll do the other side just for good measure since it doesn't need it as much. And then we'll just wipe it with the dry spots and put it back on. That way it doesn't look so crummy. And let's see, well, before I clean up the case, let's just do a quick look at the circuit board, make sure it doesn't need any soldering. Alright, so taking a look here, let me go ahead and get up close with it. For the most part, it looks pretty good. Let's see, is that one? No, that one looks good. Pretty decent looking board. Yeah, I think it's good. I think we're just going to leave it be. So now what we'll do is we'll see if we can clean up the cabinet a little bit better. So the cabinet's a little dusty looking, but it's not terrible. Probably the best way to pursue this is literally just hose it with Windex and use a brush to scrub it, and then clean the rest off. Let me grab my toothbrush here. Thankfully this wasn't a smoker's set. I'm going to just spray it on, leave it a little bit, spray some Windex on my brush, and then just kind of go in a circular motion here. Clean all this up. And we'll wipe it off. Chrome handle on this, thankfully, doesn't have any nasty oxidation. If you're worried about getting in the little crevices, get a flat blade screwdriver and put it behind your shop towel as you wipe out. It gets the stuff out of there. That's looking a lot better. We'll do this stuff back here. I dusted the chassis with a brush to get the remaining light dust off it. Let's put this back. And we'll do the side here. Side's kind of yucky looking. Yeah, let's get the slats. I try not to leave any residue on the slats because it will just attract more dirt and grime and look gross later on. That looks pretty good. Let's do the other side here. And then when we're done cleaning it, I'm actually going to use the Novus to shine up the plastic case a little bit. Now I'm not going to work it around the vents or anything because it gets stuck in there and it looks like death, but for the most part the cabinet will get touched up and it should look a lot better. Again, the screwdriver in the slots behind the towel usually cleans it up enough. Okay, just wipe down the inside of the cabinet while we're here. Serviceman's warning, blah blah blah. You'll get electrocuted and die. Seriously, don't go poking around in here unless you are aware of the consequences of electricity. Okay, so now we've just got one issue remaining, is that it's kind of oxidized looking once all the Windex dries. In fact, if I dry it a little more, you can see that the color is starting to look more gray than it is black. So the way that we combat this, again, is with the Novus number 2. And it, for the most part, will restore the shine of the case. So I'm going to grab the mail here real quick. It's just going to be a repeat process, really. We're just going to put a bunch of this in our towel, and I'm just going to rub it in. And it's going to take a little while, but this will give it a much nicer appearance. Turn it around here. Pull this off so I don't bend it or break it. Shine up the handle a little bit. You can see it's looking pretty good. And we'll do the side. Same thing. And we'll just rub it in. And then again. And when we're done, I'll do a second coat on the top. Because the top, I think, was worse than the rest of it. We'll do one more on the top. This way it'll at least look a little bit nicer. And let me get a dry, fresh towel. Rub off the excess. Polish the handle a little bit. And then we'll polish the sides. Maybe this side here could use a little bit more. Top's turning out good though. And then do this here. So maybe I'll do a second bit for the sides. Just like I did for the top. Okay. You see I got some in the vents here. Let's get rid of that. Shine it up good. That's much better. And do a final with the dry towel. Now we got ourselves a fairly nice looking case. Much better, a little less oxidized. Alright, let's put it back together. Okay, well here it is all spiffed up. Sure does look a lot nicer. Case still shows a little sign of oxidation, but nothing like it was. It's actually quite nice to look at now. Oh yeah. Gotta love that instant on. I got another Hitachi that does that too. I think that's just a portable thing. As long as it's on AC power, it's instant on. And when it's on battery, it's probably not. Nice picture though. It's nice and bright. Very cool. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this little video and more stuff to come. Thanks for watching.